Raila will be a man under my radar. When he forms government and he doesn't attend some of these things, I will never spare him.
You will summon him as an elder?
I'll call him out. I'll tell him you fought all your life for good governance, for a better Kenya. We cannot talk about a better Kenya when Chinese are still importing plastic fish into this country. For your information, the Somali coastline is a very long coastline. It has fish species that nobody else has in the world. Instead of us getting together and exploiting this which God has given us, we are listening to foreigners who are telling us you fight each other. We are very stupid people.
Yeah.
There is not in the interest of Kenya or Somalia to fight each other. Somalia and Kenya are brothers and sisters, are neighboring countries. The people of Somalia and the people of Kenya are one and the same. You cannot put a wedge between them. The people of Uganda and the people of Kenya are the same people. We have communities speaking the same language across these borders.
Kenya's fisheries industry has been touted as one that is highly underperforming. Now, how best can we address the challenges they are in? Well, that forms the basis of our conversation today here on Business Glide. This is your only show that focuses on matters economic concerns in Kenya, and we hope that in the fullness of time, it is a show that will have an impact on the future of Kenya's economy. As always, my name is Richard Mwenja. Always a pleasure to have you on yet another edition. And right now, to dissect into this conversation is none other than a man who is donning an African attire, Kenya's most sought after political analyst and renowned public scholar, Herman Manyora. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Why are you still in my thunder, though? How do you shine your host when it comes to dressing?
We've been around for a while.
Yeah.
We know the game.
All right. I need to learn on from your footsteps.
Yes.
I see. All right, so we are looking at matters fisheries industry and whether as a country we are harnessing its potential perhaps to address issues such as poverty, eradication and so forth. But then again, let's start from Kenya's political narrative that's going on. We have seen people talking about revolutionizing Kenya's economy, and one way we can do that is perhaps by empowering our fisheries industry. We have seen Ruto go big on matters to do with maize farmers in Kenya and probably wheat farmers and so forth. Now, for Raila's case and his lieutenants like Hassan Joho have really pushed the narrative about the blue economy and particularly those of empowering Kenyan fishermen. Would you say that the next government, should it be under Raila's hands, we are seeing Kenya's fisheries industry propelled further than it is already?
I think they have no option. We have talked about the blue economy, and we said we have not even scratched the surface.
All right.
If you look at fishing, if you didn't pollute Lake Naivasha, for example, you'll get far much from fishing than you get from the flower farms around. Because fishing can go hand in hand with lake tourism.
Absolutely.
And we talked about it. If you promote the fishing industry along Lake Victoria, a fresh water lake that can sustain the region economically.
Now, sir, let me bang my argument under this kind of route, I should say. We are seeing Governor Hassan Joho is from Coast Province. Raila Odinga is from the lakeside. Would you now say that the fisheries ship is under safe custody and stewardship under now Raila's government than it will have been under Ruto's government? Because perhaps they have the expertise and knowledge of.
But that's to localize Raila and Joho. These are national and international figures. I think fishing industry, just like any other industry, is underperforming in this country. The potential hasn't been even scratched. So just like other things, like for example, you are talking about leather industry, you know, in northeastern province or whatever it is, those northern
frontier districts.
Yeah. The same thing you can talk about marine life, about fishing in Lake Victoria, about fishing at the coast. They don't need to come from there, but now that they come from there, yeah, you are right. It should be given much more prominence because they would understand the suffering of the locals.
I see.
Yeah.
If you're looking at what the fisheries industry is contributing to the national basket, it isn't much to write home about. Would you, now that you're saying we haven't actually harnessed the full potential of the sector, could it be that we have issues with our management, that perhaps we are not performing under optimal conditions within the sector?
I have said repeatedly, you allow me to say it again here. This country requires big thinking.
What kind of thinking exactly?
Big thinking. I want to imagine that either Ruto or Raila will allow for big thinking. So big thinking is this. How can we make fishing generate more money than tourism, for example? If I give you that docket, if I'm the president, I tell you, I want 300 billion for a start in the next 2 years from fishing. I want you to import fish. To export fish in these volumes. I give you the targets. I want you to meet the Kenyan demand. We don't even meet the demand of fish in this country. We want you to meet, in 1 year, we should have more fish than we need and should be able to export fish. To do that, there are a number of things, a number of interventions. As my minister, go ahead and do it.
I see.
That's the thinking I'm talking about.
The government of Kenya came up with the State Department for Fisheries, Aquaculture and Blue Economy. And time and again, we are seeing the PS coming forth and saying government is under the process of probably building up infrastructure that will do with matters to do with value addition and also post-harvest fish preservation and so forth. But we somehow are slugging in achieving this. Why will you say, what will you attribute the sluggish uptake of such well-intended recommendations?
Two things. Mm-hmm. One, I've already talked about, lack of big thinking. The second is theft associated with any government project. So that when you come up with a project, even if it is good, well-intentioned, mm-hmm. the people who are supposed to see it through, to implement, what they are seeing through is the money they can get out of it.
Siphon.
Yes.
I see. President Uhuru Kenyatta just the other day witnessed the Afri-City summit that was taking place in Kisumu. And of course, we saw all these heads of state come forward and talk matters how they can go about sustainable fishing and make sure that the trade is profitable, not just to the common fishermen, but also to the country in general. But we are facing issues to do with industrial pollution this much. And if you look at those companies, majority of them, because an expose was done by NTV's Dennis Okari that showed matters to do with deadly waters. You flag a company that is discharging its waste into the lake, but somehow it's connected to a big politician and so forth. How much of will is needed in this country so that not just those in the political side, but also we, as industrialists, are making keen interest in preserving the ecosystem?
Yeah, apart from big thinking and dealing with theft, we must also do common sense things. We must have the will to do certain things. We must stop being cheap and stupid about certain things. If you just look at Nairobi River, the rivers flowing in Nairobi, look at the amount of industrial waste being pumped into this small river that then feed Athi River. You just say, are we really people? Nobody will allow that to happen in their country. If you go to Lake Naivasha, the amount of waste, chemicals and pests being pumped into the lake. If you look at the amount of dirt going into our waters, then you keep asking yourself, are we really serious people? So on top of big thinking, dealing with theft, there is a question of seriousness. We must learn to be serious as people. If we don't stop this lazy way of doing things, if we don't become serious in the things we do, we are finished. So even for that, talking of Afri-Cities, I was there. It was very poorly organized. I must call out my friend Anyang Nyong. It was so badly organized.
But the budget was heavy allocated.
It was badly organized. Everybody was complaining. But the one thing I liked, I saw two presidents sleeping in next to my village. Can you imagine? A president sleeping in the village, small hotels within my locality. And I would hear, I said, good. That's what devolution is doing. You have a president of a country, not of a company, of a country, a sovereign state, sleeping in some village. Yeah. That was wonderful.
I know you felt more of a deep state then.
Oh, we felt well, somewhere near my place, yeah.
All
Two
right.
of them.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, sir. We are also looking at issues whereby we can deal with the nightmare that has been the sex for fish narrative that has been going on around Lake Victoria. It is an undertunnel that has been propagated forth by middlemen and brokers, whereby these women who are not kind of empowered with bargaining skills, with how they can go best around issues to do with marketing, they fall under the shackles of middlemen who do not have their best interest at heart. For example, for devolved governments that are endowed with such water bodies, how best can they address this narrative? Because at the end, we are not only looking at them profiting from their trade, but also doing away with issues such as HIV around the shorelines and so forth.
You know, everything good comes with something bad next to it. So if you have activities, economic activities along the shores like Victoria, for example, fishing, and there are products and there's money, there are shortcuts. What you talk about as a vice is almost something that is part and parcel of the game. What people do is how to mitigate by looking at what it is that forces women into that kind of thing. And then you realize a very small thing and you can do something about it. You can mitigate it. But about the fishing and how it can benefit society, like you are saying,
pricing and so forth.
First of all, it is how do you ensure our fishermen and those engaged in fishing do it in a modern way? If you look at how fishing is done elsewhere, you look at even just the fishing gear alone, you see how far behind we are. So in terms of the industry, in terms of how do you manage it, and then nextly, issues of processing and preservation.
Value addition.
Yeah, and finally, marketing. So it's a simple thing. A serious government can do that. Within one term of Uhuru Raila presidency, I should imagine that should be talking about fish not bringing money should be a thing of the past.
All right.
And making fish more expensive around Kisumu than in Nairobi should be a thing of the past. And importing fish, plastic fish from China,
with heavy metal presence,
should never be allowed. Not in the 21st century.
It is happening.
That's what I'm saying. Raila will be a man under my radar. When he forms government and he doesn't attend some of these things, I will never spare him.
You will summon him as an elder?
I'll call him out. I'll tell him you fought all your life for good governance, for a better Kenya. We cannot talk about a better Kenya when Chinese are still importing plastic fish into this country.
Charity begins at home.
When people at Lake Victoria are still suffering. We will call him out. He had better be careful.
Absolutely. Talking about how we can empower these fishermen to do their trade using modern gears and so forth, are you somehow signaling that time is ripe for us to come up with, say, a marine academy, Kenya Fisheries Academy, that equip these skills on how to go about the fishing trade and also matters to do with safety? Because if you look at the kind of gear they are using at Lake Victoria, of course, they are risking their lives. So one, we perhaps come with a marine academy, and also we invest heavily in matters to do with the research around the fisheries industry.
Suddenly, this is not something you can take to the next level without research, without resources, without skills. But you see, fortunately today, we live in a very small world. The world has become a village. When people discover something in China, within months or days or weeks, we know how it is. You don't even need an academy, perhaps.
Or even benchmarking trips.
Yeah, you don't even need to benchmark. You are just here and you know what's happening. You can be on the cutting edge of knowledge without necessarily starting a school, without going to benchmark, the Kenyan benchmarking.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible. Doctors are doing wonderful things in the field of medicine in this country without having to go to benchmark, without an academy of using the cutting edge of... Surgeons are operating on somebody in Nairobi, and they are doing it together with other surgeons in Tokyo, Japan, and somewhere in California, and others in London and Hong Kong, and they are all on the same patient in Nairobi. They didn't put up an academy to bring that kind of technology or way of doing things.
Or send their supervisors for benchmarking.
No. We know the world has become so small. What happens in New York gets the rest of the world within a couple of days and weeks. And you don't need to build an academy. You don't reinvent the wheel. You don't go and benchmark. You just join the rest.
All right.
Yeah.
The very last, we are still grappling with matters to do with on and off spat around Migingo Island. And also we've seen the issue around Kenya and Somalia, territorial marine waters and so forth. Of course, at the risk, those who are putting their lives at risk are our Kenyan fishermen in those particular regions. How fast should we address this issue? And perhaps, are we looking at a possible deadlock towards this issue in the near future?
My position is clear. Somalia and Kenya are brothers and sisters, are neighboring countries. The people of Somalia and the people of Kenya are one and the same. You cannot put a wedge between them. The people of Uganda and the people of Kenya are the same people. We have communities speaking the same language across these borders. We have the Teso of Kenya and the Teso of Uganda. You have the Samia in Uganda and the Samia in Kenya. Across the boundary. These people from the Survey and the rest around Mount Elgon and so on and so forth. The Somali in Kenya, the Somali in Uganda. You have the Kuria in Kenya, Tanzania. We are the same people. These boundaries are artificial. We must break the boundaries. We must get together to exploit that which God gave us in terms of resources. For your information, the Somali coastline is a very long coastline. It has fish species that nobody else has in the world. Instead of us getting together and exploiting this which God has given us, we are listening to foreigners who are telling us you fight each other. We are very stupid people.
Yeah.
There is not in the interest of Kenya or Somalia to fight each other. Let them get together and exploit the oil and gas which God has given them on the coastline. The fish, the tuna fish and the rest. Let Uganda and Kenya exploit that which God has given them as brothers and sisters. It is actually foolish to listen to a foreigner making you fight among yourselves when you all know too well they are doing that because they are interested in your resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From where you sit as your footnotes, even as we wrap up, for a fisherman in Kondele slums in Kisumu City or that fisherman in Kilifi where poverty levels are quite alarming, would you say that the future portends good tidings for them, going by how the government efforts with regards to the fishing industry?
I think the future is bright. All we need to do is get the right mind in State House to build on what Uhuru and the rest have done. To know now where we have reached, we must take off. We must bring in a revolution in terms of doing things. So every sector must do things in the way nobody would have imagined they would do. So I'm looking at fishing and saying, in the next 5 years, fishing must bring in 4 or 5 times the money tourism brings in.
So that we can service
we
our
must
debts.
have sufficient fish to improve our table, our dinner table in this country.
True.
For nutrition and otherwise. We must have sufficient fish to import in large quantities to bring in foreign exchange.
To export.
Yeah. And we must industrialize the whole fishing industry for purposes of creating employment for our children.
Well put, sir. All right, that's why we wrap up this conversation touching on matters fisheries industry and how best it can live up to its full potential in the fullness of time. Of course, a myriad of challenges are facing the sector, but Herman Manyora has probably come up with better recommendations that the PS in charge and actually the minister in charge should perhaps take it up if indeed they have the best interest for Kenya's fisheries industry. Before I leave, our fan of the week this week, sir, are our troops based at the Kenyan Navy, Manda base. They say they are a big fan. Every time after they've gone to the sea and they are back to the barracks, they say they normally tune into Business Glide because it is a show that touches on matters economy. In as much as their trade doesn't allow them to talk matters politics, they say Business Glide is their true darling. Kenya Navy soldiers in Manda base.
Thank you very much, our officers at Manda, the Navy. We celebrate you. I'm always known for supporting our military. The men in uniform are always doing us proud.
All right.
And the fact that they are watching us and they're part of this conversation makes me even happier.
Actually, Jad told me that he wanted to join the Kenyan Navy back then before he got to the channel.
He's serving Kenyans in another capacity.
All right.
Yes.
All right, well, get posted on our African proverb of the day that is coming up on your screen right about now. Keep this conversation going beyond here. I'm at Mwenja Richard on Twitter. Until next time, God bless.